Very low. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Spotlight. I'm Maxine Crow, your host, and this is where we shine a brilliant light on entrepreneurs, SMEs, and innovators. Today, I'm joined by Anirvan Sen, CEO of Fifth Chrome, and we are going to delve into Anirvan's journey and just words of wisdom and challenges. I'm so excited for you to be here. How are you?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to a wonderful conversation here as well. And since I moved from a corporate world into the entrepreneurial world, I'm sure there are millions of people across the globe who have similar desires but never make the jump. So,
Yes,
looking
true.
forward.
That's so true. And would you like to just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
Sure. So I'm the CEO and the founder of Fifth Chrome, which is still our main business. And we are in the space of business strategy advisory, specialized in mergers and acquisitions, business restructuring, transformations. And we are based in Amsterdam, but we do projects all over the globe. In fact, a lot of our clientele is based in likes of US, but also in Malaysia, Singapore, India, Kenya, South Africa, Dubai, and of course Europe and the UK.
Yeah,
These days, I always have to say Europe and UK. I earlier I could
you
just say
do
Europe.
now. Yeah,
Yeah,
you do now.
and in my previous avatar, I worked with General Electric, and I spent 16 years in different leadership roles in different businesses. And I made that transition from being in the corporate world, high flyer job, and then move into entrepreneurial business ownership world. And while I must say, the first time the entrepreneurial bug bitched me, even though I first encountered in my university days, but it took at least another potentially about a decade before, and this is we're talking about early 2000s. This is the
Yeah,
post Y2K, where I had my first fling in exploring entrepreneurial idea with another colleague of mine. Um, Now that didn't take us anywhere because even though we had put in some effort, it didn't happen. It took me another more than 10 years to actually make that leap of faith, and again, part of the reason why that is because when you actually have a stable or a career growing opportunity job with a company, and in my case it was General Electric. Every time I would say, okay, now maybe I'm ready to take a jump, I would get another role which was exciting and do stuff and obviously more money. So that cycle just kept happening. And also the other side of things, of course, is the uncertainty. The uncertainty
yeah,
of being an entrepreneur. How
yeah.
much money do I need? What do I need to do, etc., etc. So that was kind of a contrast. So yeah, so that was my starting point. 2013, I started my own consulting, and here we are in 2024. So we just finished 11 years.
Wow, congratulations. And I get that that yo-yoing feeling and knowing in your DNA that you're an entrepreneur and you've got these projects and things that you want to create, but then you've got that security. It's like a security blanket, isn't it? Because you kind of know where you're at, and that uncertainty is sometimes you just have to burn the bridge. I think and
You
go
know,
for it.
and part of the reason, so this is reflecting on what has happened historically. Um, I say a lot of the entrepreneurial skills are innate or are there. They get developed very early on in your childhood days. Okay,
Mm,
it's the society around us, it's the educational system which makes us think that, hey, you know what, you need to study well so that you can get a good job and which makes you money and it's a secure job, etc., etc., right?
yeah,
Entrepreneur is exactly the opposite. Okay, which is there is no security to talk about. There's a lot of uncertainty, and yet the rewards are big. Our
yeah,
educational system, the way society works, is not tuned to the entrepreneurial world. And which is why I always say that I wish I had people early on in my career who would have started saying, Anirvan, you should become an entrepreneur. I
Yeah.
didn't have to wait this long in my lifetime to make that jump.
Well, at least you've made that jump now. I had a guest on. I had a guest on a few weeks ago. A company called it's Inspired to Ignite, and they just teach exactly that. Your youngsters between sort of the age of 18 and 24, they don't have the word career at all mentioned, because some teenagers, youngsters, they're just not built for that traditional education route. And I don't know about you, but do you feel now that there's way more opportunity for young entrepreneurs to come through and be supported with resources?
The answer is absolutely yes. I mean, we never ever before we actually are faced. We're living at a time where there's so much opportunity for entrepreneurs. The entry barriers have gone down. You just need a laptop and an internet connection, and you can pretty much get into business.
Yeah,
Having said this, I also say that there is a merit in having worked in another company for a few years, because because that learning is very difficult for people to replicate. And if people want to jump straight into entrepreneurship right after university, they get shackled by the
mm,
amount of thinking they can do on the basis of their own experience, which is quite minimal
yeah,
compared to having worked in a company for 3, 4, 5 years. I always say, maybe just work for 3, 4, 5 years before you may take that entrepreneurial plunge, because that will give you a lot more diversity of thinking.
yeah,
So that's one. The second thing is, I also see super specializations that are driving the way the world operates, right? So we no longer talk about marketing. We talk about digital marketing. And the reason I
yes,
use talked about digital marketing is because that's exactly what's happening. 10 years back, we would talk about digital marketing.
yeah,
Today, we talk about TikTok marketing, or we talk about Insta marketing,
yeah,
because digital again has become so widespread that you again need to go specialization. I'm sure next line of thinking is going to be TikTok this the marketing, or
yeah,
Instagram specific this marketing, So we are looking at a world of not no longer a super specialization but hyper specialization. And what that means is that for a company, you can no longer have an individual who's going to possess all the skills. So, which essentially means in your organization, you need people who understand the concepts, but who are good at facilitation rather than doing the work themselves.
yeah,
And on the other side, it becomes a lot easier for you to acquire skills where you don't need 20 years, because there was no 20 years with Instagram, right? So you
yeah,
can't claim the number of years, but it is your ability to get the work done. So that's also, if you look at the way things are changing around us, that's also pushing more entrepreneurs to evolve, because companies, salaried employment will not be able to keep up. So that's another
mm,
good thing to become an entrepreneur. As I said, the first thing, obviously, the entry barriers, but
yeah,
that's the second thing. And which is why I'm no longer talking about the peripheral, the threshold, people who cannot be employed, but I'm talking about mainstream folks. More people should go into streams that gets them become entrepreneur than people going into liberal arts, um, or let's say any of the other academic courses, physics. Or I'm not saying that's not important, but what I'm saying is that if you look at the number of people who join the workforce, even though they've done, let's say, masters in physics or in geography or whatever, and they end up working for a bank, you just have to reverse the trend where you want more and more people to become entrepreneurs.
yeah. And I just think as well there is a place for the traditional skills because of the industries that you end up working in, because of, physics would be like bio and pharmaceutical and things like that.
Yeah.
However, just moving on from that, they're very, very interesting points, and I'm really happy that we covered those. But just tell us more around your product and your service, and what you deliver to solutions that you solve,
Yes.
solutions that you deliver for big problems. That's what I meant
Sure,
to
sure.
say.
No, no, absolutely. So I come from the world of transformation, change management transformation. That's what I did in GE. So I was involved in mergers and acquisitions in GE. I was also involved with large scale transformations, which included Lean Six Sigma, then also global workforce management that included sort of outsourcing, but also managing remote teams globally, etc.
Yeah,
And then there was one point in time when I was responsible, or at least my team was responsible for transforming our setups in 134 countries. Um, so that was the background that I came from, right? So, and I
mm,
thought it'll be an easy switch to consulting work, right? That hey, I carry so many things. I've done so much at a place like G. It should be a walk in the park, right? And it wasn't so, because entrepreneurs mean that you don't have a machinery that works with you, supports you, helps you in the way get done. You need to do everything by yourself. Okay, so so there was a period of time we started picking up projects, and
mm,
main projects that we do are transformation projects, business
yeah,
structuring projects, or mergers and acquisition, integration projects, etc. Right? Even Lean Six Sigma change management. The
yeah,
thing that I found was increasingly it was becoming time for money. Okay. That you need to pay a certain, your clients are going to say, we're going to pay a certain amount of money, a certain amount of dollars or pounds or euros per hour per day.
yeah,
And that kind of was, it kind of stays flat. In fact, actually, sometimes it goes down as well, right? And
yeah.
I was getting sick of it. On the other side, what got me into the business of transformation is 75 or 80% of the transformations fail. Massive number. And I came across this study made by Forbes, where in 2019, $1.2 trillion were spent on digital transformation alone,
Yeah.
which essentially meant $900 billion were thrown down the drain.
Wow.
That is massive. Imagine that amount being used to provide clean water, that amount being used to elevate poverty. And 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 the thing was, because I come from a corporate background myself, I would be aghast on why, and some of the reasons why people pushed back was simply appalling. Okay. They would push back because they don't agree on a small part of a transformation, and they'll just push back. But the ramifications of that were so big, and these numbers just tell you the size of the problem that we have, right? So,
Hmm.
anyways, so the reason, so what we said is we need to do the transformation, but we need to do it differently. And that's where we created this model, which was
Yeah.
based on some of the best practices, Galbraith Star model. We looked at McKinsey's OHI. We looked at some of the other high performance lean startups, scale ups, etc. So we created our own model called Promise, which is 7 pillars
Yeah.
that have the maximum impact on performance. So those are strategic future. Um, then we have innovation and critical thinking. We have organization and leadership. We have management system, which is the heart of an organization. Then we have people and power skills or professional
Hmm.
skills. We also have employee experience, and we have rewards and recognition. Okay. Now, two of the things we added on were innovation and critical thinking,
Hmm.
and the other one is employee experience. Okay. I have not seen even and I speak to lots of innovative companies, lots of large scale innovative, one of the largest innovative companies there. Even they themselves acknowledged, when we presented the model to them, saying, "Hey, what? We also don't actually think innovation in our mainstream thinking." Okay.
Mm.
On the other side, we know that so many disruptive companies are coming up, and which is why it's very, very relevant to entrepreneurial world, is innovation has to be at core of what you think. But more importantly to the innovation, it's a critical thinking. Okay. What got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
You need to constantly critical think. not criticize or critique, but critically think of where you are, right? So, anyways, so we developed this model called Promise, which is the acronym for those 7 pillars. What we
Yeah.
also found is when these elements work together, they create magical effects. We call them force multipliers, abundant thinking, but that's what they do. And that's where my book on this one, which is first one is going to be on mergers and acquisitions, is going to come up very shortly.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, we have started pivoting from our traditional time for money kind of projects into a framework based, making an impact in the transformation world. That's what we are.
And just confirm, is it only mergers and acquisitions, or would it be corporate transformation as well? So basically, you've
Yeah.
got
So
different.
so
Mm,
yeah. So we call it the high performance business model. Okay.
yeah.
Right now, we're using it to drive innovation for mergers and acquisitions, driving ESG in a company,
Hmm.
scaling up 10x for SMEs, also looking at in general mid cap companies who want to maximize their performance in a given, let's say, setup. So again, because I come from a lean six sigma background, we used
Yeah.
to we used to say something like this. So without putting in extra intervention, you could get up to a 94% quality, okay, which was 2 sigma.
Yeah.
And then from 94 to 99, you would need to put in additional interventions, because from 2 sigma you would move to 3 sigma, okay,
Yeah.
and then from 3 to, so, but the reason I'm kind of highlighting this is because the at a situation, if you want to maximize where you want to be, and if you're at 60% or 70%, without spending a lot of money, you can get to 94.
Yeah. Yeah.
But from 94 to 99 is a leap, which will cost you money. And from 99 to Six Sigma, which is 99.9997, is going to cost you 10 times more. So if you had
Yeah.
spent, yeah. So, anyways, but the reason I'm saying that is most organizations, especially SMEs and mid market, they think in order for them to grow, they have to spend money. In order for them to improve, they need to spend money. That's not true,
Hmm.
because majority of the companies have not reached the state of entitlement, and that's what we target. So with our model, we go in and target at that. So which is why the promise is more universal
Yeah.
when and if you're looking for extracting high performance.
Yeah. So you mentioned there that you've actually written a book on mergers and acquisitions. Have you written more than one book?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
written
So I've
one.
already got 3 that I published. Those are on Amazon. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is going to be my 4th book. Yeah.
Your fourth. Would you
Yes,
like to just share? Would you like to just share the details of those after the show, so that we
absolutely.
can put those out to the audience, so that we can learn more. So yeah. So how do you foster a culture of innovation within your organization, and translate that into who you help to transform?
Yeah. So there are a few things, right? First thing is when we talk about innovation, in the past, innovation in the 20th century was known as R&D, research and development. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Innovation started becoming used in the mainstream only this century. Okay. Even though the word was invented whenever, right?
Yeah.
The the thing is, in the last 15 years, maybe 10, maybe 15, some innovation broke the shackles of R&D. R&D typically was done primarily for product features or on product features. Okay. There was never a concerted effort to say, I'm going to innovate the way I'll do marketing. I'm going to innovate the way I do sales. Okay. Let me give you an example.
Hmm.
Uber has not innovated fancy taxis that fly. Uber has provided an innovative platform through which you can order a cab. Cabs are still the same. It's a car with seats where this person is going to take me from point A to point B, and I'm going to pay money for the services. Okay. So come to think of it, there was never a feature in this whole model that was innovated to create a fancier taxi, which means taxi is the product. Okay.
Hmm.
But all, and this is where most companies forget. This is where we say innovation beyond the laboratories. It's the marketing, it's the sales, it's the customer interactions, it's even with your own employees. So that's the starting point. If you want to innovate, you need to think beyond products.
Hmm.
Okay. Second thing is jobs to be done, and this is Clayton Christensen's jobs to be done. Why do your customers need that specific service? Why? Ask the why, understand the why. Okay. And by the way, there's something called internal customer versus external customer, and a lot of times people just get stuck in that. And I say most of the companies have not understood the concept of internal customers. So do not get trapped in that, because that's just bureaucratic BS. Excuse my,
Yeah, it's
but
okay.
yeah, they get entrapped in this one. You as a company need to come in as a whole to solve a meaningful problem for the customer. So understand why the customer needs your service or product.
Yeah,
Okay. So that's important. And that's how it's going to drive your next level of innovation. Okay. Now, once you've understood your customer's job to be done, that's when you start thinking or critically thinking. Okay. Critically thinking, and again, you could use Edward Bono's methods or otherwise. What does critical thinking mean? Critical thinking meaning is look at all the possibilities, evaluate all the options critically to see what makes more sense. Okay. People again confuse between criticizing and critical thinking. Most corporate organizations end up criticizing, then
mm,
take a critical thinking hat. So, so that's roughly what we talk about when it comes to innovation and critical thinking. So this is how we drive, and it has to be a concerted effort. That's
yeah,
which is why we use our own framework. So we say some of the management systems you need to change would be, how do you make sure that people have started experimenting? Are you still using the ROI thinking, or do you have something called an RFC thinking, or the way Amazon has used, they had come up with this concept where, when you had an idea, the way you share an idea with your colleagues and friends to get a feedback from them without spending a lot of money, but just
yeah,
get their idea. There is a way of doing it, right? So
yeah,
the same thing with RFC, request for comments. You
yeah,
essentially put a paper, you say, here's my idea, this is what it's supposed to do, this is what I think is going to happen, share it with the 8-10 people. Okay. So
yeah,
that's where, so you need to develop the culture of innovation or experimentation. You need to have the tools, but most importantly, and that's where the O comes in, organization, structure, and leadership of promise, is make sure that you have the leaders who are driving the right kind of behaviors. You have an operating model that makes sure every week on week, people are asking questions around innovation.
yeah, yeah. That's that. When I think about facilities management and what we ask of our supply chain, and when we have the quarterly business reviews, there's always that innovation box as well as the ESG box as well as the day-to-day performance. So it is relevant, and it's going to be
I would
around.
I would say I would say it's not, so again, I'm just reflecting on what you just said.
Hmm.
ESG innovation are not ticking the box. They
No,
have
but
to be,
the
yeah,
physical things that have to be done,
they
they
have
have to
to,
be
like, for
demonstrated and
example,
evidenced.
yeah,
Mm,
and what people should not confuse is incremental changes versus innovation. Innovation means you're transforming the way you've done. Okay.
mm,
Except for people who have adopted blockchain and created a multi-party supply chain value chain, the rest of the people are just fooling, have put wolves in front of their eyes. It's not innovation.
mm,
Just because you put a
mm.
dashboard does not mean you're innovating. What have you transformed the way supply chain gets done? Okay. And that's my challenge. I always throw in, because I'm a challenger kind of a person, I always throw in this challenge. And I said, what have you challenged in the supply chain?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Um, this question around growth and scaling.
Yeah.
So within Chrome, what strategies have you employed to grow and scale the business, and what kind of advice could you give to our audience?
Yeah. So typically, most of the people get stuck in scaling, and this is one of our forte, by using a model. And again, I'm not trying to sell my
No,
services.
we want to. This is the spotlight. This is what it's all about.
Exactly.
It's talking all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so what we say is typically an organization goes through pretty much three stages. Let me call them that, right? So the
Mm,
first stage is called a problem market fit. Okay, some people also refer to that as a problem solution fit. If you look at value proposition canvas, or many of the people lean startup, they'll call it a problem solution fit. You know,
mm,
we could also call it the problem market fit. So you are trying to solve a problem with a potential solution from your side. Okay, that's
mm,
your stage one. This is your literally startup zero to a stage. Okay, and there are people who have started paying you some money, but what you're doing is essentially you've got the expertise, and this is what we did in our case. We had the
yeah.
expertise, so we would pick up projects, we would do projects for the client because we're solving a specific problem for them through a solution that was a bespoke solution. That's stage one.
Yeah.
But these are very dependent on people, so it's not necessarily scalable. Okay, the
Hmm.
second one stage is problem market fit. Okay, that there is not a problem, a product market fit. So you have now been able to productize your service, or you have a product that addresses a specific thing in the market. So what you're trying to find out is the positioning of the product or in the market, so that you can get the right payment, the right price for that product. So that's your second stage, which is what we call a product market fit. Okay, this is the stage when you start repeating or creating a business model that's repeatable, because in the past everything was very ad hoc. Now you
Yeah.
can start putting in operating governance, you can put in some policies, some technology, which makes the process being repeatable. Okay, the end of the line for this is where you've got a business model, not a process, but a business model, which is a combination of things that you can take the business model and then you could repeat it. Okay,
Hmm.
so, for example, if you had a restaurant, and if you knew how to run a restaurant properly, and you're making a reasonable amount of money, you've got the management system, the people, the technology. Now you say, "I'm ready to scale," and that's where
Mm,
we call it the portfolio solution stage. Okay, which essentially means you take the business model and then you replicate it, because
yeah.
that's where you start getting the scaling up. You need a scalable or a repeatable business model. Only then you ready to scale. With
Mm,
entrepreneurs, majority of the time they're stuck in the first segment, which is the problem solution or problem market phase.
yeah. That's some really good advice. Um, what other advice would you offer to entrepreneurs that are looking to expand? So we've talked about scaling, but expanding and innovating. What other advice would you give to them?
Yeah. So first thing, which a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, is they remain very geography centric. Okay,
Mm,
people who operate, let's say, in Greater London, don't think of going to Manchester, or maybe they think, but they don't think of going to Glasgow. Okay, or even if they did, they never thought of Amsterdam. Okay, you're in today's, especially if you're doing something in the digital world, then you need to think digitally, globally.
yeah.
Okay, right. The second thing is it all boils down to developing capabilities within in-house, right? So if you want to think that by having people who are innovative in nature, that you're going to have an innovative organization,
Hmm.
that's incorrect. Organization needs to become innovative, and that's driven by active reinforcements of policies, leadership thinking, management system, all of that stuff, right? But most importantly, and I would say for the entrepreneurs, is you need to think big.
Yeah.
If you want to make a meaningful dent, then you absolutely need to think big. And that's where majority of the entrepreneurs stay small, because they just can't think beyond their closed corridors.
Yeah. Yeah. That's some really good advice there. Um, what does the future look like for Fifth Chrome? So where do you see your business in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so we essentially are looking at expanding our offering across the globe, especially because we now have a product. So we see a few areas: diversification of where the product would be used, the promise
Mhm,
framework would be used. So
mhm.
we've already started using it in the SME segment. We've already started using it in the innovation segment, and we are now looking also at. We have used it in the M&A segment in the past somewhat, but now we're going to formally introduce. So this is going to be an expansion of the portfolio of the
Yeah.
places. The second thing is geography um, reach is becoming important. So even though we've done projects in different parts of the world, we want to start growing each of those individual geographies as well. And the third one I would say is through partnership. So this
Mhm.
time around, with our framework, we are looking at partners, like-minded people, but complementary products. Let's say one of our partners is recruitment companies. So recruitment companies are great, or training companies are again great because it kind of nicely fits in, becoming complementary. So that's where we're looking at. I would say I probably want to get into, let's say, not just a million, but maybe close to a 10 million
Mhm.
euro kind of thing in the next 10 years. No, not 10, 5 years. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh,
And then
that sounds.
potentially exit. Yeah.
And then potentially it depends on whether they'll let you go. It sounds that you're going to be doing this for quite some time.
Yeah,
Um,
Maxine, in fact, that's actually very important thing. Um, Part of the reason, and this is from KPI guys, right? The reason why we went on to develop our methodology is because I wanted to make it me independent,
yeah,
so that it's the company to whom the IP belongs to, and that so that the company, if there are new owners or new people who come in, you at least have the methodology, the framework, the templates, all of that stuff, which could be repeatedly used. So.
yeah. That product, that P in that product is so important, and that eco and building that ecosystem. And you're right, it's that independence and freedom which you'll eventually be able to sleep at night knowing that you've done well. You've
Yes.
done it proud, done it proud. Um, so what sort of books, podcasts, or resources have particularly influenced you?
Um, Books, I definitely have to say Daniel Priestley's KPI. That's one of the books that have influenced me. I also look at Michael Porter's Competitive Advantage.
Oh yes, I
Yeah,
was
that's
studying him.
another book. Then Traction is another one, which I would say I'm a voracious reader. So, um, and I'm just looking at my bookshelf. If there are
What have
others.
you got there to show us?
Oh, tons of stuff. The Blue Ocean Strategy, followed by Logical Thinking Process. So the Goal by Ellie Goldratt is another one of my inspiration.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I can rattle out ten
Oh,
more.
do
Yeah,
share your reading list with us, for
yeah.
please,
From a
please.
podcast perspective, I would say the Dent podcast was one. Also, M&A Science by Kisan Patel, that's another one. Then there's an Ultimate Entrepreneur with Jay Abraham. Then I think it's Business Lunch with Roland Fraser. Then uh, Copywriting, Bernadette Shred. I think Shred. She's going to kill me. Um, and
I'm sure she'll forgive you. Please forgive
yes,
him, Bernadette.
yeah, and
Putting him on
then
the spot.
exactly, and then yeah. So and then HBR spotlights, idea casts. Those are good as well. So yeah,
Yeah, amazing, amazing. I'm going to be tapping you up afterwards for this list so we can share it with the audience.
sure.
um, so before we come to a close, are there any final words of wisdom and encouragement for our audience that you can share?
Yeah. You know, you if you are an entrepreneur, then be an entrepreneur. Which means that you always need to think big. You know, uh, because otherwise you'll always be a micro business owner. You're not an entrepreneur. Okay. The second thing I would share is this role comes in with a lot of challenges, a lot of uncertainties, but that's what makes it interesting for likes of us because we love those challenges.
Mm.
You will go through more than your fair share of negative times, despondencies and depressions and all that stuff. It comes with the territory. Okay, be prepared for that. Similarly, when you win businesses, there's a period of elation, which is again nothing that you'd see. It's a different world. I would say, and this is something that I made a mistake. On the hindsight, I could always say that when you become an entrepreneur, you also need to look at your friend circle. Because if your friend circle is salaried employees or employees, you will not get good feedback or good insights, good input regarding how to lead an entrepreneurial lifestyle because they think differently. Even though they may be good people, they may have all the right intent, but they are not entrepreneurs. They're not facing the same uncertainties, the same challenges that you are. And this is something I would be eternally grateful to another friend of mine. His name is Hutton Henry, again, another guy that I respect deeply because he was the first one who had identified, said, Anirvan, tell me who are your friends? And I
Yeah.
explained to him who my friends were and said, do you realize you have very less number of entrepreneurs in your circle and majority of them are senior, super senior managers in large corporates. And that's when the penny dropped. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say look at your friends, keep your friends accordingly. And there comes a point in time, especially in the entrepreneurial world, you don't know when the professional world, kind of mixes into the personal world because
Yeah.
you make a lot of friends from the professional world.
Yeah, that's some really good words of wisdom and learning. And Anavan, how can people contact you and reach out to you if they want to learn more about Fifth Chrome, about your journey?
Sure. I am on several social media um, platforms. The best one to reach out is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, just Anirvan Sen. There are not very many of us.
Hmm.
Um, just make sure that you see the fifth Chrome. I know there are a few. I'm connected with two of them.
Hmm.
Um, so just look up for fifth Chrome. I'm still wearing that shirt from my LinkedIn photograph, so hopefully that's going to catch you.
That'll help.
Yeah. The other platform is on Facebook. I'm also on Insta. I don't use the other platforms that much outside of these three.
Hmm.
Uh, and also I could be reached out through email, Anirvan, that's my first name, at Fifth Chrome, but it's not number five, it's FIFTHCHROME.com. So
Hmm.
fifthchrome.com. Please make sure that when you have sent me a link request on LinkedIn, then say that you got my name from this podcast so that for two reasons. One is I get solicited by dozens of requests who always come in with, we will grow your business 10x, or we will do this, we will do that,
Hmm.
right? I don't necessarily um, barred them. I actually, because they're doing a sales job, they're cold calling, but also at times it can get really frustrating where you get 10 connect requests like that on LinkedIn, and uh, but the main one that you really want to connect does not come through. So that's what my request to you is: please put in a message saying that this is where you found me, so that we can actually have a meaningful discussion. And Maxine, to your point, I love having conversations. If
Yeah.
I had 24 hours a day to have conversations like this, I would use every minute of it doing this because I'm out to help companies achieve better transformation results. It's a big task. And the more people I speak with, the more people I share our model with, the framework with, I believe that the world is going to become better.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, Anavan, I want to really thank you for today. And anyone that is watching, do feel free, if you've managed to miss it, just watch back the recording as well. It's live streaming on Facebook and YouTube as well as the LinkedIn platform. So there's plenty of opportunity to get to learn about Anavan and Fifth Chrome. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure we'll stay connected. You've got some material and resources to send through to me so that I can share with the audience afterwards. So thank you so much for today. This has
Yeah.
been another In the Spotlight episode with Anirvan from Fifth Chrome. Thank you
Thank you so
so much.
much, Maxine, and thanks for doing this wonderful job. Thank you, and bye bye.
You're welcome. Bye.